I can introduce myself. You did good. Give me a hand. Okay, this is a 2-hour and 15-minute presentation that we cut down to an hour and a half that we're going to cut down less, but I'm not going to be done by noon, and if Lance, as Lance said, if you need to go, then just go. It's okay. The camera's going to have a hard time with me because I'm someone that moves around. I'm not a professional speaker. Part of the first half hour that we're going to cut out is all the stuff that I tell you about myself so that you'll like me. Can we just pretend you like me and start at that point? All you need to know about me is I've been in your chairs. In fact, I'm in the RE/MAX Hall of Fame. I started in 1979 as a salesperson. I sold for 20-some years. Sold a lot of real estate, owned a couple RE/MAX offices, ran the 7th largest Coldwell Banker firm, went back, got my MBA. I'm now working with the roughly the largest 25 Coldwell Banker companies in the West, trying to help them get better. And I have taught, I was a CRS instructor teaching their business planning class. The reason I don't call this putting a business plan together is because I wanted you guys to show up. So, Lance referred to about 5 years ago, what happened to the market? Changed. Here's what happened, I think.
That's not good. Anybody have that? No. Sorry. Somebody! Hello! There are 2 people stuck on an escalator and we need help. Now, would somebody please do something? I don't believe this. You gotta be kidding me.
I'm gonna cry.
Well, there's enough left to do.
Okay, if you think about it, I mean, I know it's funny, but if you think about it, 5 years ago, the market, the escalator stopped, right? In my travels going around, all I've seen are agents and companies that have stood on that same step on the escalator waiting for it to carry them back up. Right? Looking outside themselves for their success. It's really easy to put on that victim cloak, right? And say, you know, this market isn't very good and I wish it would get better. And you know, in the meantime, even as it's sliding backwards, you know, we're all standing there. And so now we're hearing, I'm telling you, the market is better. In at least 70% of the marketplaces that I'm working in, the first 2 months of this year are better than they were a year ago. There's no places where there's great big slides downward in price. We all need more inventory. Your situation is not unique. But you know what? I'm here to tell you, get off the damn escalator. Don't rely on anything or anyone outside yourself for your answers. And you climb higher, faster, and farther than the market could ever take you. And so in the next little bit, I'm going to show you what I think is a very specific process for doing that. Now, I don't believe in separating the personal from the professional. I think I'm the same person on the golf course as I am in the office. I think I have the same things that drive me when I'm at church as when I'm with my kids. And so, while I will encourage you to do some compartmentalizing that will help you, I don't believe that you separate the two. I think it's one life with different parts of it. Now, we probably ought to start with a quiz to see who needs to be here in the first place. So everybody needs a piece of paper. So borrow from your neighbor. I don't care. If you're here to work, I'm going to work you. And some of you will actually choose to change your life. Yes, if you want to put it on a machine, go for it. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to write down 5 words, one underneath the other, just like I have here, okay? The 5 words are spiritual, relationships, mental, physical, and financial. Write them one underneath the other, just like that. Okay, step 1, out to the right of each of the 5. You're going to rank your life. Here's the ranking scale, okay? 1 equals sucks. 10 equals awesome. I want you to take 1 minute, no longer, and to the right for each of these components of your life, I want you to rank yourself. Ready, go. Just write a number out to the right on all 5. Go. Okay, step 2. I want you to pick 2 of the 5. 2 of the 5 categories where you ranked yourself. I want you to write down one thing that you could do that would increase your ranking. For example, if I said my spirituality was a 3, maybe I would write going to church more frequently. Could be, I didn't say would be, could be something I could do. I want you to pick 2 of the 5. And out to the right, I want you to write down one thing you could do. So you should have 2 of them. You with me? Okay, 1 minute, ready, go. This is where iPads aren't quite so great, and I'm with you. I'm doing a lot of stuff on mine too. Okay, everybody there? All right, here we go, the most important part. I want you to find someone else in the room. I don't care whether you know them well or not at all. You're going to pick one of the 2 that you just wrote on. And here's what you're going to share with each other. 1 category, what your self-ranking was and why. And the one thing that you could do that would increase your self-ranking. A total of 3 minutes, so you're just going to take 1.5 minutes and then change. Find someone else. This is important because it leads into the first big lesson. Ready, go. Come to center. Let me ask you a couple questions. Raise your hand if you were the first of your two or threesome to share. How did it feel to share your little thing? It felt good. Any other descriptors besides good?
Liberating.
Liberating. Why was it liberating?
I get to share some of my personal stuff with my colleagues.
You let a little secret out and it was okay. Now, I know no one had this experience. Did anyone discover that they shared the same thing that the other person shared back to them?
Yes.
How bizarre is that? First group that's ever happened to, which is why I asked. How did it feel to hear someone else's little secret? Pardon? Not, you felt like not alone. You're not the only one with this little flaw or secret or desire to get better, right?
Right.
Did you feel closer to each other or further apart after you shared? All right. Here's the first big lesson that I want you to hear. This is the minimum level of introspection that you have to go through to put a plan together for your life. This is not about filling out a worksheet so that Lance or one of your managers knows how many houses to count on you for this year. That's not what we're talking about. You can't put a plan for your life together in the middle of your nutty lives. I know how nutty your lives are. Second thing, if you want to be great, you've got to become great communicators. And the only way that happens is for you, just like you did today, to risk going beneath the surface with your clients, your customers, with each other. This stuff that we do in our hallways of our office. Hey guy, how's it going? How you doing? Super, great, good. That means nothing and goes nowhere. We've got to stop reinforcing that in each other. That surface level chatter ain't what it's about. And the only way that we can really find out what someone's looking for in a house or what they fear in selling their house is to invite them to go beneath the surface. And the way we do that is just like you did it today, by risking the behavior and modeling it first yourselves. Are you with me on that? Now inevitably, who had all 10s on your ranking? That's why I closed the door. I guess I got the right people here. Inevitably, some of you will feel a little bit negative about yourself after this exercise. And so for you, I want to provide a little bit of hope.
Such a feeling's coming up me. There is wonder in most everything I see. Not a cloud in the sky, got the sun in my eyes, and I won't be surprised if it's a dream. I'm on the top of the world.
This is the end. Beautiful friend. This is the end. My only friend. The end. Of all the elaborate plans. The
Thank you.
seriously strong cheese. I hope you feel better about yourself. A lot of us are headed for success. Most of us are here because we've got some image of success or fulfillment or happiness, and we feel like this role helps us. Sometimes we feel like we're really on our path. Things are clicking. Other times we feel like we're not exactly where we meant to be or are supposed to be. This is for those of you that have never gotten quite on the path, or you know what, you feel like you've strayed from it and you want to get back. Well, you can. Here's the steps. We'll talk about each one briefly. The first thing, the most important one, is to decide. Then you got to figure out where do you want to go. You need to know where you are. You need to plot a course. You need to start, get going, correct, because inevitably you are going to stray. And the last thing is keep going. By the way, the whole PowerPoint and a handout that goes with it, I'll get to Lance. So if you miss some words, it's okay. I'd rather that you listened and understood the concepts, okay? But the first one is to decide. And this is the one that's most difficult for most of you, yet it's the simplest one. How many of you would like to have a better year next year? Gosh, what a surprise. This year. How many of you have put a plan together and reduced it to writing for making that happen? I see this kind of, well, kind of, sort of. I sort of have it in my mind, right? Or I put a few things down, but I'm not clear. Let me tell you about my oldest son, Jack Schumacher. 7 years ago, Jack came back from Southern Illinois University with a 0.00 grade point average. Not exaggerating. That's not very good. It wasn't a very good investment for me either. Jack was partying all night, sleeping all day, surly, gonna get a job, gonna get a job, gonna get a job. With love, I sat down with Jack and said, if you don't have a job by the 15th of June, you're going to need to find another place to live, because this isn't working for me, and this isn't punishment. I'm just telling you that's how it needs to be. And you know what? Jack moved out. He didn't get a job. He enlisted in the Army after working at Kinko's for a little while. And he shone in the military. It was an environment that was perfect for him. A couple Bronze Stars, a couple tours of duty. He was good. And then on May 28th, almost 3 years ago, I got a phone call from his captain in Afghanistan that my son's convoy had been ambushed. And either the luckiest or the best rocket-propelled grenade shot had taken his leg off. And that Jack was on his way to Germany, that he was alive. And if things went well, he'd be at Walter Reed Hospital. And so I hustled up, and this was the day that Jack arrived at Walter Reed. Jack had lost his leg right below the knee. There was nothing to attach a prosthesis to. They had the joint. Those of you that either know someone or have had someone close to you that has had some kind of prosthetic limb know that those joints are important if they can keep them. So Jack's in bed, bummed. He's missing his guys, first of all. He's feeling guilty because his best buddy was a supply sergeant named Dennis Holloman. He had convinced Dennis to go along with him. And Dennis is handing him an ammo can. Jack's up on the turret shooting back at these guys after they popped up, and Dennis is handing him an ammo can, and the same rocket took Dennis's arm off. Jack was convinced that women would never find him attractive again. He did not want his little brother to see him as a cripple. Bottom line is, he was bummed, he was depressed, he knew he needed to get going, but he couldn't. I was in the room when this little short guy with very sharply creased pants came in with a smoking hot wife. There is no other way to describe her. And he said, "Hi, my name's Andrew. Thought we'd just visit a little bit." Andrew's into extreme sports, racing motorcycles. Well, if you haven't guessed, I'll give you a hint. About 10 minutes into the conversation, Andrew pulls up his pant legs. And guess what? He's got a prosthetic leg. He's a pilot. He's not just any pilot. He is the first Air Force pilot to be returned back to active duty with a prosthetic limb. And it's not just any old airplane. This is Air Force 2 that Lieutenant Colonel Andrew LaRake was the pilot of. Pretty cool stuff. Well, anyway, he left the room. Hour and 10 minutes later, and I knew things had changed for my kid. My kid had changed in that conversation. And he hasn't looked back since. If I asked you why you should put a plan together, you would give me all kinds of good reasons. But there's only two that matter, and I want you to think about these. Number one, I just told you about. When you put a plan together for yourself, I have yet to see someone say, I'm going to try to put on 60 pounds by becoming less active this year. I want to go from 32 to 11 real estate transactions, but I want to work twice as hard to do it. That's not how it works, right? When you begin to think about what's possible for yourselves, you tend to see yourself in your highest and best light, who you could actually become. Just like Jack in Lieutenant Colonel Andrew LaRake saw a very clear picture of what was possible for him. And that is a much more powerful motivation than anything that Lance or I or anyone outside yourself, even an escalator, can provide. You've got to find it. I'm going to try to give you some tools for doing that. Second, you know what? How many of you want this year to be better? Hands again. Okay, until you take action, it's not going to happen. And the difference between a wish and an intention is taking action. Putting a plan together is taking action. The minute you put a plan together for how you're going to accomplish it, you know, that kind of puts you on the hook, doesn't it? Because you're telling yourself, some of the significant people around you, maybe even your competitors, maybe your broker, that you're going for it. And until you decide to burn the canoes and put a plan together, you'll continue achieving a very similar level of success that you always have. Because that's how it works. An excellent book for you to read. There's about 6 books that I sprinkled through this. The E-Myth Revisited. The reason I bring this up is, how many of you see yourself as entrepreneurs? Well, you're not. Not according to Michael Gerber. He says, you know what? What you are is your technicians who've had an entrepreneurial seizure. What I'm talking about is, does anyone know someone that really likes to cook and they've always dreamed of what? Opening a restaurant, right? The surgeon that's excellent, opens his own group practice. The same skills that make you a great salesperson don't necessarily make you someone that runs a great business. Are you, in fact, your own businesses? Yes. Now, the fact that you choose to band together and affiliate with something greater than yourself, that has nothing to do with the fact that you are, in fact, your own business. So you've got to start thinking like business people and not like technicians, or what I like to call hobbyists. I don't want you to be hobbyists another day. So once you've made a decision, maybe even when you walk out of here, then and only then can you start thinking about where do you want to go. And what I'm not talking about here is how many houses you want to sell or how much money you want to make. Because there's only about 15% of you that came here to make as much money as you could. It's on everyone's list somewhere. But most of us came here because we wanted to become great at something, or wanted to show to someone else that we had the right stuff, or the lifestyle that we've dreamt of, or to get out of debt, or to recover from a divorce, or whatever it is. But they're deeply personal for you, which is why I'm going to teach you the process, but everybody's path is going to be different, and rightfully so. So, the first question that you have to ask yourself when you begin planning is this one. I write at the top of an 8.5 by 11 sheet of legal pad every year. What do I want? Some of the questions that you can write down to jot yourself as you start to write are, what do I want to have? What do I want to do? What do I want to be? What do I want to give? Ultimately, if you're like me and you believe that business is attracted, not pursued, that means the person that you become is the most important predictor of the success that you're going to have. In other words, to attract more business, you have to become more attractive. Anybody hear of a guy named John Goddard? Yeah, he's the first great explorer, adventurer. I think this was in the 20s. I don't know if he's still alive. He was 2 years ago on the West Coast. But this is his original life list. This is the very first bucket list. Listen to some of the things, the 127 things that John Goddard put on his life list. Explore the Amazon. Climb Mount Everest. Dive in a submarine. Follow the John Muir Trail. Swim in Lake Victoria. Visit the North and South Poles. Ship aboard a freighter as a seaman. Light a match with a .22 rifle. Marry and have children. Almost every one of those things are checked off. Isn't that nuts? I'm going to give you an exercise. We're going to go through it together. This is designed to help you get in touch with what's really important to you. Because again, nothing else will serve more powerfully as a motivator than what makes your heart sing. But you know what? We're so busy reacting to everybody else. And we've been beat up, especially you guys here in the Inland Empire. You've probably forgotten what makes your heart sing and what it feels like when your heart sings. So let's get back in touch with that. I want you to think of a scale from 1 to 100, and the scale is happiness. First thing we're going to talk about are tens. On the scale of 1 to 100, a 10 is something that brings you pleasure, doesn't cost much time, doesn't take much energy. You could do it every day. Examples of 10s that I got from other real estate brokers as I travel around are things like these. I know I'm supposed to be in front of the speakers, but since I'm not a speaker, I don't care. Have dinner with friends, work out, hit golf balls, meditate, work in my garden. You know what? Deeply personal, different for all of us, right? So right now, I want you to write down for yourself 110. 110. Write it down. Go. Okay, Gigglepuss, give me one. Who can tell me a 10? Let's hear it.
Play with my dog.
Play with my dog. Thank you.
Have dinner with friends.
Have dinner with friends. Excellent. One more.
To view a property.
To view a property. You enjoy viewing property. Excellent. I love people and I love houses. That's why I'm in this business.
Hug my grandchildren.
Hug my grandchildren. Why is it that you love your grandchildren? How many grandparents are in the room? Why do you love your grandchildren more than us kids? That's been my experience. Okay, here's a 50 on a scale of 1 to 100. A 50 is something that would take time, that would take money, that would take planning. These are not once in a lifetime kinds of events, but they might be considered once a year. Examples of some 50s. I have lots of people that say they would like to do something physical. Run a marathon is one of the most common that people share with me. Go on a retreat, buy a Harley, learn to paint, family vacations. Do you get the sense of what a 50 looks like? Well then write one down for yourself. Write down what would be a 50 for yourself. I'm not asking you to commit to it. I know that would be going way too far. Write down 150 for yourself right now. Those of you that have not shared, I want to hear your 50. Let's hear it.
Annual family vacation.
An annual family vacation to where? Where would you go?
Mammoth.
Mammoth. Excellent.
I would want to take my family to Europe.
Take my family to Europe. No. Pardon?
Lose 50 pounds.
To lose 50 pounds.
Education.
Go on a cruise. Where would you go?
Hawaii.
Go on a cruise to Hawaii.
Buy a Harley.
Buy a Harley. I'm with you. That was mine. But I now have a blonde, so I don't really need the Harley anymore. Okay, good job. On 100, hundreds are things that we don't know how we would do them. If time and money were no object, hundreds are things that would blow your mind. Examples. The Ironman Triathlon. I'd love to take my dad to play golf at St. Andrews. I got that about a month ago from a group I was in front of. Somebody else shared it, and I thought, oh my God, if I could do that with my dad before he dies, that would be just the coolest. Now, I'm guessing that's not the same for you as it should be. You know, go see the Pope, go trekking in Tibet, act on stage, buy your daughter a horse. Things that you don't know quite how you do them, but in your real fantasy world, that's what you would do. Let me hear a couple 100s from you.
Take my boys and their wives to New York and see all the Broadway musicals.
Take my boys, their wives to Broadway to see all the musicals. Would that be awesome or what? Quit work. Financial freedom. Common. 2 more. Give me something crazy.
Run a marathon.
Run a marathon. I think that's more like a 50 because you could do it this year if you wanted to. Live in Israel for a year. Pardon? Own Coldwell Banker. Watch my son play in the MLB. Awesome. I think you guys get it. Here's what I want you to do is I want you to actually make those lists. Which were harder for you to make, the hundreds or the tens? Yeah, everybody can do the tens. You know, the 50s and hundreds, we're going to talk about why that's a bigger challenge for us. But you know what? Until you write them down, until you share, keep them with you, get in the habit of getting beneath the surface with each other. What are you reading? What are you doing? What are your tens? What are your 50s? You may hear some things from other people that really turn you on. And it's okay to scratch some of yours off and add some. The most important thing you can do is to develop that list of tens and plug one of them in to your schedules every single day. Can this business wear you down?
Yes.
Has anyone here ever flown on an airplane? Okay, when they're describing what to do when the masks pop down, what do they tell you?
Put yours on first.
What? To put yours on first. Why?
You can't tell someone else the child.
Thank you, and that's the analogy that I like best for this. You know, if you can't be rejuvenated, refreshed, positive, above the fray, then nobody can, because you're in the middle of very emotional times. And you can go home at the end of the day, at the end of the week, at the end of your real estate careers, really feeling like this business ground you down. And that's not why you came. So you've got to find a little bit of joy, a little bit of relief for yourselves along the way so that you have more to give. Okay, I want you to all write down what's your goal this year, income. If you've never written it down, never thought of it, do it right now. Write it down. You don't have to share it with anyone. I want you to write it down. This is just for you. Has everybody written down what would you like to make this year? Okay, now please cross it off. I want you to cross it off. I want you to double it and write that number down. Okay, here's the question. What do your little voices say? Wait. Whoa!
Can't do it.
Can't do it. What else? No way.
How am I gonna do it?
How am I going to do it? Little different voice. That's programming. That's programming. When I said you'll do what you've always done unless you make a plan, this is what we're talking about. We get comfortable. It's called homeostasis. It's how thermostats work. It's our programming. There's a few ways to change our programming. I'm not going to spend as much time on this as I might. But A, if somebody tells you that you are the sum total of the people you hang around with, that can be very scary. You know, it was almost 24 years ago that I decided that consuming 15 or 20 cans of beer every night wasn't maybe the best thing for me to be doing. And guess what? The first thing they told me I had to get rid of was if I wanted to sober up.
Your friends.
Damn it, it was my friends. That's the last thing I wanted to give up, right? But they were right. And I'm going to ask you if the people that you hang around with are people that inspire you, that lift you up, or do you like celebrate your collective victimhood together? You better ask yourself. Books and Thoughts, they say that masters look for education and victims look for entertainment. So what are you doing to grow your mind?
Can you repeat that?
Masters look for education. Victims look for entertainment. Meditation and gratitude. We got any meditators here? There's all kinds of guides. I'm one. 10 minutes. I sit in a chair, eyes closed, hands on my knees. I count my breaths till 10, over and over and over. 10 minutes is my target. Sometimes it seems like it takes forever. Sometimes I feel very enlightened, and I'm just kind of blissing out, and I can keep going. Point being, there's two things that you can learn from meditating. Number one is that there is, in fact, a gap between stimulus and response, which was a very important thing for me to learn. Because it's not my thoughts that get me into trouble, it's my actions, right? And the fact is, I can choose them. I can choose them. So that little space, I can own that, at least better than I have. And the second thing is, what I referred to earlier is, when everyone else is losing their mind and they're nutty about these transactions and my house didn't appraise and now we're not going to be able to move and it's all your fault because you know what? One person's got to be able to stay above that, and guess who it is? It's the professional. It's you. Well, how do you do that? It doesn't just happen. It takes some practice. This is a way for you to become of this world, but not in it. Visualization. I don't know if any of you have ever done any storyboards, often called treasure mapping. I'll show you some examples. It's simply cutting out some quality images of things that make your heart sing and putting together a collage. I'm now hearing people use Pinterest the same way. And this is a reinforcement to your subconscious, or now called the non-conscious mind, about the things that brought you here, that are important to you. Here someone's gone the extra step and they've got not only pictures of vacations and cars, but they've got affirmations that they've attached to them. And you know, they walk by this 100 times a week. And they may not stop and I am in the process of meeting my soulmate. But you know what? They see that and it reminds them. And some people like to keep these in their office. Some like to keep it next to their dressing room mirror. Whatever it is. I know that stuff doesn't work. You may as well sleep under a crystal pyramid. But what if it did? I had someone at Coldwell Banker, Devonshire in central Illinois. She sent me, she'd taken a picture of her, she'd laminated it, sent it to me. The coolest thing on it was there was a big pregnant mother on there, and sure enough, Andy Wilsey had a baby in February the next year. I thought that was awesome. The little voices that said, I can't do it. That's crazy. This is just a dumb speaker's game. Doubling my income. Psh, doesn't he know how distressed the market is here? That voice needs to be replaced with something more positive. And it can be. But again, not by accident. So I'm going to encourage you to actually write out affirmations. There's a book called The Answer. A guy named John Assaraf, who was one of the subjects in The Secret. As a matter of fact, believe it or not, John Assaraf owns the Indiana region of Remax, by the way. It has nothing to do with anything. But the first 100 pages are a great description of how the non-conscious mind works. The rest of the book sucks. Stop reading at page 100. But those people that have written affirmations, anyone in here? I'll see a few hands. Probably the low achievers in the group, right?
No.
I don't think so. Got to be your goal, got to be positive. You don't say, you know what, I want to get out of debt, because what is your mind here? Yeah. And I encourage people that want to lose 20 pounds. What do you do when you lose something? When you lose something, what's the next thing you do? You go look for it. Why don't you release 20 pounds? Think about that. First person, present tense. Write it down 25 times in a row, 30 days in a row. Start your day. And then keep that and add another. Here's some examples of actual affirmations from real estate agents. I'm a proactive, trusted real estate advisor to 250 people, or 30 people, or 1,000 people. I enjoy receiving 150 grand a year. I like the way clothes hang on my body. My business is my masterpiece. I'm considered the best at what I do. I'm not going to have you write one down in the interest of time. But as you're thinking about how you can convert your wish for a better year into a decision, this is one of the ways. Act as if. A lot of people feel like once you've changed your mind, then and only then can you change what happens to you out in the real world. And the actuality is, it works exactly the opposite. There's a lot of research that shows a very high correlation between how people feel about themselves and how they perform. And so what I'm telling you is, walk out the door acting like the successful person that you see yourself as. Now, I'm in the airports a lot. I see people walking around. I can tell by their walk, or at least I think I can, who's going places and who doesn't have a clue. You start physically conducting yourself, conducting your business, dressing the way that you perceive an uber successful person would, and it will actually manifest itself, because here's what happens. You walk a little taller, you feel a little better about yourself. You got your shoes signed, you feel a little better about yourself. You learn a script and you use it. The next time someone says, how's the real estate market? And you're in your sweatsuit at the grocery store, instead of saying, oh, it's not as bad as it was, or almost as bad, super! They're both kind of BS, right? What if you said, hey, I was just checking. Year over year, we're up 17% compared to just one little thing that makes you different. You're going to feel better about yourself. And what happens is, as you feel better about yourself, your results increase, and that is a golden upward spiral. But it starts with, you got to fake it. I'm telling you, fake like you're the person you want to become. Most powerful motivator of all is, I want to be the best at what I do. Whether it's real estate, whether it's being an Eagle Scout, whether it's a Little League, whether it's mom. So if you came here to master your craft, that can propel you forward. Much more so than, I want to go from 14 units to 18 this year. Oh, that really drives me. There's a great book by a guy named George Leonard. It's not about real estate. It's called Mastery. It's about an Aikido master and the path that they take to mastering their martial art and how we can apply that in the real world. You might want to check it out. Okay, so once you have some sense about what it is that turns you on, yeah, you need to stop and figure out where you're at before you can put a map together, right? Who can tell me what SWAT stands for?
Special weapons and tactics.
That would be SWAT. Strengths. Quit guessing. Quit guessing. God, that's such a typical real estate agent. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. So now what we're talking about is figuring out where you're at. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. Here's how that works. Strengths, what are you good at? Weaknesses, what are you not so good at? By the way, if you're not really clear on what you're not really good at, I highly recommend the spousal unit. Mine is very helpful, the blonde I talked about. What opportunities? Opportunities would be things that the market might be giving to you. For example, are we seeing a return to the high end? Are condos back? Are we going to see distressed properties for a while? And is there an opportunity maybe to get in front of that still? Could you subscribe to some of the tools that Lance talked about? Threats, these are simply what could come up and throw you off your game, and these are typically external. They'd be like, is it going to be Obama or is it going to be Romney? And, you know, the wonderful, crazy state that you live in and its regulatory environment, how is that going to impact you? And you know what? Interest rates and unemployment, you know, what the best time to begin to plan with how you'd react to a negative situation is before you're in it. So this is what I call all this professional mulling. And you've got to find some time to mull and build that into your schedule. So we'll do a little bit of that right now. You're going to write 6 words down just like you did. Now we're talking about the professional side of our lives. You're going to write these 6 words down, one underneath another. Prospecting, which means how good am I at finding business? Listing, once I'm sitting at someone's living room table trying to convince them that I'm the one to represent them, how successful am I? And am I really good working my listings? Do I get them sold? Selling, you know, I'm with Lance. I hated buyers. If I had another University of Illinois professor that wanted to go back downstairs to see how many gallons the hot water tank held for a house that he had no interest in, I'd have killed him. Selling. Operations. This simply means, do you have systems for everything you do, or is everything kind of seat of the pants? Do you have systems for following up? Do you have systems for incubating those electronic leads that come in? You know, files, do you handle them impeccably? Technology, how well are you embracing technology into using it for your business? Profitability simply means, given the amount of real estate that you're selling right now, are you maximizing your profit from it? Let me ask you a question to demonstrate this. If I want to make more profit in real estate, do I need to go find more people to work with? Yes or no?
Yes.
No. No, I don't. What if my average sale price was higher? What if I charged more on average? What if the listings that I took sold more quickly? If something sells faster, is that better? Is that more profit for me than if it drags on for years? What if the number of presentations that I gave resulted in a higher percentage of actual listings? What if more buyers I work with bought? You get the message, right? That's what I'm talking about with regard to profitability. Okay, you are not going to share this. Well, how many would like to rank yourselves and share your rankings with your neighbor? Okay, good. We're not going to, but I want you to rank yourself 1 to 10 to the right, 1 being what? sucks. 1 is sucks. 10 is awesome. Rank yourself on those 6 areas. Out to the right. Write it down. 1 minute maximum. Ready, go. Okay, that ought to give you some clues about where you need to focus your energy next year. There's 2 ways to plot your strategy based upon what you just considered. Number 1 is you can take a look at what opportunities are there in the marketplace and see where my strengths intersect with those. An example would be, okay, let's say I'm a lifelong learner. I love to take classes and go to school. There's a distressed real estate market out there. Can I, through education and other things, position myself as a distressed property specialist?
Yes.
Yeah. You know, it might be, I love to play golf. And there's nobody that's any good in real estate at Rio Grande Golf Club. You know, I live in a certain neighborhood and nobody's working it. I want to be the condo queen. Whatever it is, that's called filling a need. There's a specific need in the market and that's called filling it. The second thing you can do is, you know what? I'm just going to identify one thing that I'm going to be so much better at than anybody else, that they will come to me, and they will, whether there's an expressed market need or not. And that's called making a need. Both work. But in developing your strategy, here's some questions. What do I want to be known for? What am I known for? How many of you give great service? Okay, can we agree that it's going to be hard to convince the public that your giving great service makes you really different than everybody else? Who are my customers and what do they want? What can I do differently, better than anyone else? Who can name a commodity? If you're going to buy a commodity, what are commodities you could buy? Gold, I heard. Oil. Hey, you're sharper than Lance told me as a crowd. Commodity is basically identical items, right? One that can be exchanged for another. Examples: corn, gold, oil, just like you said. This one might scare you. The general public, do they think that for the most part we all do the same thing? As companies and as real estate agents. Okay, a scarier question. On what basis, on what one basis and one basis alone do people buy commodities?
Price?
When everything's the same and many people have the same thing to sell, what's the only differentiator between them? It's their price. You know, if I want to buy a share of Walmart stock, and you want 13 for yours and you want 16 for yours, which one am I going to buy? Probably the less expensive one, right? Is that happening in our business? You bet it is. So, if you're perceived as being like all the others, you'd better be prepared to compete on the basis of price, because that's all you're going to have, unless you have a differentiation strategy. Poppies, are these commodities?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
But let me ask you this. Why not be that one? Why not be one where there aren't others? Or at least, you know what, be a tall poppy. And that's what I'm talking about here. once you decide, here's the few areas, and I'm going to suggest not more than 3 that I want to focus my energies on, you're far better off focusing on 1 or 2 or 3 things and sustaining that focus for an entire year than coming up with a list of everything that you could or need to change, or changing those things every month. I see a lot of real estate brokers and companies that take on that second identity that, you know, they come up with a new strategy, a new thrust, a new program, a new contest, and you guys always wait them out, don't you? Because you know it's going to change. So once you've decided on up to maybe 3 areas, I do recommend that you then say, okay, I'm going to make a specific SMART goal for each of these 3. Anybody guess what SMART stands for? Specific, okay.
Measurable.
Thank you.
Achievable.
Accountable.
Achievable.
Attainable.
It's probably not realistic that I'm going to be the all-star at next year's NBA all-star game. Right? Especially after some knee surgeries. Realistic. Okay, I'm going to triple my real estate income next year. And homeschool my 7 kids.
Tangible.
You've got to... Nice guess. Now, I want you to attach a time frame to everything that you do. If I say I want to get fit next year, does that meet the criteria here? Why not?
Too far out.
It's not specific, it's not measurable. How will I know if I've achieved it? If I say I want a new car, I'm going to get a new car in the first 6 months of next year. Does that meet these criteria? No! I want an electric blue Yugo! Or whatever it is. In your download that you'll be getting, I've got some individual sheets that'll simply take a goal, you write out why, and then you're going to break it down into, here's the little steps that will take to its completion, the dates, and who's going to be in charge of those things. Most of the time it might be you. Anybody seen this movie, The Bucket List? I want you to go rent it, and I want you to watch it, and I want your kids to watch it. It's the best primer on business planning, on goal setting, that I've ever seen for a couple reasons. Number one is, it talks about the power of actually writing them down. It talks about the power of sharing them with someone else. And it also demonstrates beautifully how when we put our goals out there, and we're awake and we pursue them, many times they're achieved, but not the way we think they will be. An example, Jack Nicholson says, I'm going to kiss the prettiest girl on the planet in the movie, right? What happens towards the end of the movie? He sucks it up. He goes to see his estranged daughter. He's never met his grandchildren. And you see him, okay, he finally walks up to the door. He goes in. The camera goes through the side light of the front door. Jack Nicholson kneels down. His little granddaughter sees him for the first time and plants a what on him? A kiss. And isn't that how things work? That a lot of times if we're awake and walking our paths, that the universe will in fact deliver our answers, sometimes even grander or different than we expected. A lot of times you think that A plus B will equal C, and no, it will lead to something else that's even more fantastic. But until you put the action steps down and start walking, you'll never know. All kinds of reasons. I could ask you why make a budget, and you'd give me a host of great reasons, but you know what? Let me just tell you why you should. Guess who this is? My mom and dad. I'm an SOB if you haven't figured it out. I'm the son of a broker. It's even worse, they both sold. Dad went into the real estate business. Mom joined him. Their plan was they were going to work hard, buy a few rental houses, retire early. And sure enough, about 10 years ago, they sold the company. They retired, moved down to Hilton Head. About 6 years ago, what happened to the stock market where they had most of their savings? Guess what my dad is doing now? At 79. No, he's playing golf. I told you they went and bought 8 rental houses as per their plan. Now the stock market, did that hurt them? Hell yes, it hurt me worse. I'd like to think that I'd get some of that. Except for their damned grandchildren. But they followed a plan. They made a budget, they followed it, and sure enough, the worst thing about the whole deal is every year my dad's belt gets higher and higher and higher. Pretty soon it's going to be like just below here. It's really gross. So you know what? Most people, most real estate agents don't like putting a budget together. Are you business people? Yes. Do you need to think like business people? Yes. Do you think Domino's knows how much money they make each pizza that goes out the door? Yes. And so do you. And the only way that's going to happen is if you, in fact, figure out how much money you need to live on, figure out how much you need to operate your business on, and how you're going to market that business. A subtle but important distinction between being a hobbyist and a business owner is the hobbyist says, well, I usually sell about $40,000 a year, so I'm going to budget my expenses not to exceed $40,000 a year. A business person says, I'm going to budget my business to produce a profit of $100,000 or whatever it is, and then I'm going to craft a budget that supports that goal. Instead of thinking that your success is capped, you start with the what's it going to take plus the profit that's going to drive my magnificent life. Now, if you don't want to do a budget, I understand. I'm going to give you a tool because a lot of people end up using this. Every year, this is the most commonly used tool. We'll call it the Realtor's Prayer. God grant me one more good year and I promise not to piss it away. Lance has already talked about your resources. I'm not here to sell Coldwell Banker tools and systems, but if you're trying to get better and you're not on your path and you're not where you want to be, and you've got some really good tools, both within our brand or your company, that are available to you, look at them and consider picking them up. It's like belonging to a gym and never going. It really is. You know, this is Coldwell Banker Works. For those of you that have never been in it, this is the gateway to most of our tools and systems. If I asked all of you to write down your password right now, the majority of you would not know your password for getting into Coldwell Banker Works. And you want me to call you something other than hobbyist? Come on. There is a sales associate learning portal. Matt Ferrara, David Knox, names that you should know. Big-time real estate educators have now hundreds of 5-minute or shorter videos on all kinds of subjects that are free and available to you. You know, I want to set up a Facebook business page. I want to hold an open house. They're all in there. But you need to know how to get there. If you've been in the business more than a year and you're not getting what you need to go, you can sign up for Boost. It's free. They'll help coach you to an increased level of performance. If you don't know how to follow up with your past customers, here's an opportunity to send cards, newsletters, customized, free. If you're using something else, awesome. But if you're not using anything, you might want to assess what tools are available and check them out. And you know what? There's always someone in every office that's so busy perfecting their listing presentation, they never have anyone to give it to. Don't be that guy. Because you know what? It's never going to be perfect. Do I have any Germans in the room?
Jawohl.
Yeah, well, Schumacher. I have found that you're very detailed planners and can fall into this. Any Catholics? Any Catholics? Yeah. You're going to feel so guilty that you didn't get it done January the 1st. You know, that you're going to wait till next year to do it perfectly. I kind of fall into that category. Now, I love being Catholic because we're going to heaven, right? Now, the cool thing is I didn't grow up Catholic, so I'm not screwed up. I told you the next day after Lorraine came in that Jack got his ass down at the gym. In fact, I was there. This is the day that I saw my son walk for the first time, the second time. It was one of the cooler things I've ever experienced. But he didn't stop there. That's his little brother Dan. Every single day, beginning the next day, he's in there with a workout partner. And I'm going to ask you, who do you practice with? Pretty much practice on buyers and sellers with live ammo, don't you? How can you structure practice and who can you practice with to become better at mastering your craft? That's Jack. Guess who that is? Jack's coach. I don't know any high performer that doesn't have a coach. What coaching or resources are available to you within your company and outside? I told you about Dennis Holloman. That's Dennis. He's missing his left arm. Let me tell you about accountability. Because I'm so sick of that term. It's been so overused. Normally accountability is when someone bangs on the desk and says, damn it, we're going to start doing things differently from now on. Things are going to change around here. Well, no. I'm in the room at Walter Reed and there's a curtain between Jack and Dennis. And all day long, back and forth, hearing things like, hey man, you got to eat. You're not getting down, are you? You got to get up, man. You can't get down. We're going to work out this afternoon. Later on, that would get a little sillier, like, hey, Schumacher. Yes, Holloman. I bet I can run a mile faster than you now. Well, Holloman, I bet you I can sign my name a little bit prettier than you can left-handed. And a general walked in. And he walked into Jack and he said, who's the guy on the other side of the curtain? And Jack says, listen to this. He says, oh, that's my buddy Holloman. We bust each other's chops. Me, being a management student, went, bong, that is accountability. Accountability is not something that you impose on someone else. It's a relationship that you invite someone else to join you in, knowing that it's for yourself. Who can you invite into a relationship of accountability with so that you collectively get better and collectively don't allow each other off the hook? Who can you bust each other's chops with? Ultimately, I'm talking about, can you do that within your offices and your company? Because if you can, you will kick some very serious ass. How many times is the space shuttle on target? 2%. It's always correcting, right? So inevitably, you're going to find yourself straying. Again, as businesses, there are some numbers that you need to know. And as you're going to guess them. Then you'll record what actually happened. You'll revise your guesses the next year. And ultimately, over time, you will get better and better so that you can predict with a high degree of success the very success that you seek. But it starts with, again, dominoes. You need to know some of your numbers. In your packets, you're going to find a listing and sales goals worksheet. It will allow you to electronically enter, here's how much money I want to make. And if you know the 7 things on here, it will calculate for you how many listings, how many buyers you need to find to work with each month. I'm not going to go through it now because of time. But again, if you need some help working through it, I'm going to leave some contact information last slide. You're more than welcome to check it out. But if you break things down to a monthly level, to say that I need 36, that I need 54 units every month, 55 units every month, that seems like a ton. But to say I need to take 3 listings and find 2 people to work with, bite-sized pieces, right? So what do we need to manage besides our money? A couple little tips. How many of you have a sense of what you ought to be doing when you come into the office most days? And how many of you, at the end of the day, at the end of the week, at the end of each month, feel like you worked really hard, but not necessarily on your priorities. Does anyone else have that? It kind of looks like this. We're going to need some sound. This white stuff that you see is, that's called snow. We have it in the Midwest. It's a credit card he's using.
Oh.
Frauenstluben happens, right? Do we find ourselves reacting, and pretty soon our whole week is that way? Well, I'm here to tell you a couple things. Number one, when you're good, people will align their schedules into yours much more than you think. B, if you don't have some kind of routine, if you don't know what your boundaries are, you can't staunchly defend them. So I'm going to suggest that you do a perfect week exercise. I want you to get a piece of paper, not now, Monday through Friday, beginning at 6 a.m. In your case, it starts at 10 a.m. It's okay. And you're going to say, okay, what are the most important things to me? You're going to put those in first. What would be the most important things? Give me examples. Okay, well for me it was kids and my wife. So Friday night we're going out, and Saturday afternoon we're probably playing ball or whatever. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, I would rather play a round of golf. If I had a week to live, I'd probably play a round of golf before it was like, go show a house. And I'd take care of my body, and I'd take care of my mind and spirit before I took care of my real estate activities. That's just me. Whatever your priorities are, church is not my priority. It is my wife's priority, so it's my priority. Imagine that you're a dentist. I don't know about you, but when I call my dentist and say, my tooth is hurting a little bit, he does not say, oh, let me come right over and take care of it. No, he generally says, we can see you Tuesday at 1, or I'm now enlightened, and if you need to do it in an evening, I've got evening office hour Wednesday at 6. Now, I'm not suggesting that if someone calls you and says, I want to go see the house, I want to go see it now, that you don't go show it to them. I am going to tell you, make it a conscious choice. I remember my mom and dad sitting at the Thanksgiving table in our house on Lincolnshire. On Thanksgiving, my mom gets a call. Someone wants her to go show them a house. It was in the 30,000s, not 30 temperature, 30,000s. We had those back in the early 80s, late 70s. She left the Thanksgiving table to go show a house to someone she'd never met. And I'm telling you, I don't want you to be that Pop-Tart realtor. And the minute you start thinking that you need a deal instead of wanting a deal, you'll become that Pop-Tart. So, you be the dentist. You have those slots, and your job during the week is to fill those slots. Ninja 9, I'm not going to go a lot into Ninja IT. Has anyone been exposed to Ninja selling the curriculum at all? You might want to check it out. Bottom line is, I got my staff meeting, I got my office meeting. When do you guys have to turn your ads in?
Wednesday morning.
Wednesday at what time?
10 o'clock.
Pardon? 10 o'clock on Wednesday? And so what time do most of you write your ads?
9 o'clock?
It's at 9:45. I know how it works. I've been there. I've done it. What kind of ads do you produce? Crappy ones. On a scale of 1 to 10, they're 1s. Because you're trying to get them out the door. But if you had a time on your schedule that was for marketing, where you stopped and thought, and if you're going to bow low, do it right. So build that into your schedule. The Ninja 9, all this is about is come up with a routine for yourself. Come up with a routine so that you don't come wandering in and kind of, let's see what shows up today, which is my observation of most realtors. The Ninja 9 are A, you start every day before you get out of bed with gratitude. A lot of people think that if you're grateful for what you have, you'll make room for more. Probably doesn't work, but you might want to try it. Show up. Come into the office. There's a direct correlation between the amount of time that you work and the success that you have. So keep those office hours. Have a time that you show up. 2 daily notes a day. If you wrote 2 handwritten notes a day, especially in this world where we're communicating electronically so much, those have a lot of impact. You'd send out 500 a year. They can be like, congratulations to your kid for the winning goal. They can be, hey, no, it's been a tough year for you as mayor. I want you to know that I and a lot of people thank you. It can be, found this article in the newspaper that you'd like. It could be, you know what? Thanks. I haven't seen you in a while. I was just thinking about you. Whatever. Focus on your hot list. That is, have a list of people that would buy and sell right now if you found the right stuff, so that when you go on Caravan or you're touring houses like you love to do, you can go, oh, this would be perfect for the Joneses. Your warm list, that's a group of people that they're going to move this year, but they don't know it. You do. Examples of people that would be on a warm list would be someone who's become an empty nester. Someone that's job change is now requiring a really long commute. Someone that's been promoted and all of a sudden has a lot more money. Life situations that change. Divorces. Whatever. Customer service calls. Every single week you call every listing, every buyer that you are working with, period. I'm probably the only one in the room that had the experience of knowing that I should have called someone, a listing of mine, not getting around to it, and getting that message from the front that says, John, Mike Solomon's on line 1. And I go, oh crap. I'm on the defensive, right? Because I didn't call. So you don't allow yourself as the professional to get into that situation. 2 real estate reviews a week. This is all about adding value every time you're coming into contact with someone. The difference between pursuing business and giving value is exactly that. I don't think people really need to be reminded when the time changes or need a new pumpkin pie recipe. But everybody wants to know what their house is worth, what's going on in the market, what's going on in town, right? So imagine if you had twice a week, you sat down with your old customers to give them a real estate review. A quick 5-minute update on what's happened to the value of their real estate. Not that they're intending to sell today. Everybody wants to know. 50 live interactions a week with your sphere of influence. I believe strongly that, if you go into the office, do the couple things that matter most, get the hell out of there and be among the people, that you'll have a far more lucrative career than if you play office all day. And that for all of our high tech, all that does is systematizes our high touch. It does not replace it. There is no real estate selling system that can supplant a strong relationship. Not one. I don't care how good your scripts and dialogues are. If they like you, trust you, and you're in flow, or you see them regularly, they're going to do business with you again. Did you know that 85%, look at the 2011 NAR survey, 80 if you're a seller, 85 if you're a buyer, said they would use the exact same realtor again? Most people are very happy with our services, and yet less than 20% of them actually do. Why does that happen? We get out of flow. We disappear from their world, and we think because we did this great job with them that they owe us something. It's not what it's about. And then you know what? Every month you're correcting your database, cleaning it up. You're probably mailing them something, a newsletter. But take a look at the book called The Go-Giver. I had someone write me a thank you yesterday for recommending it. I think it's the best book there is about selling philosophy. It's called The Go-Giver by a guy named Burke. I told you if you came in, if you ask yourself this question before you turn on email, before you start on any project, if you get a 3x5 card out and say, okay, at the end of today, what couple of things would I need to accomplish for this to be a good day? And you write those down. Example here, this is mine from January of 2010. Contacts entered into my customer relationship management software, email my brokers for their January visit requests, email business plan, productivity workbook requests, and I'm supposed to check on my kids' orthodontic stuff. Again, this is called a My Page Up. There's all kinds of little holders that you can set these 3x5 cards in, but start your day by saying what's most important. Set it out there. Will it remind you, just like the visual boards I showed you earlier? Then jump in and get those things done before you get into email, before you get into Facebook, before you start taking phone calls. Get that work done, and then go be with the people, and you'll have a seriously awesome career. Those of you that are electronically oriented, take a look at this program called Wunderlist with a U, wunderlist.com. What I like about it is you can put your to-do list, you can categorize it, it will communicate across all your channels so that this is on my iPhone, this is on my iPad, it's also on my PC. It also emails me every day, and the message says, ahoy matey, you have uncompleted tasks. And it's like a little reminder saying, hey, you said this was important to you yesterday, and you didn't check it off. That's an accountability. The best time management book I've ever read is called Time Management from the Inside Out. It's now the exact same book under a different title called Don't Check Your Email First Thing in the Morning, seriously, by Morgenstern. Once you get going, you might leave here hyped up and decide that you're going to put some kind of plan together, and you're going to put some structure in place, and you know what, like in a week you're going to start reacting to all kinds of things that throw themselves at you when you're real estate, and you'll get knocked off your course. I'm telling you, get back on it and keep going. 2 months after Jack got his leg, 3 months after his incident, he finished the Chicago Marathon on a hand crank bike. He set himself a very lofty short-term goal that he could really shoot for. And you know what? You might want to think about one for yourselves. Mine's the first one down, and I can prove that he's mine. Son. No, you can't hear it. It's okay, don't worry about it. I can prove that it's mine. Because that's a sound of joyful failure, which we all need. Last year we ran a marathon through the desert, the Baton Death March Memorial Marathon through the White Sands, New Mexico. And I told him he thought he'd never be attractive to a girl, right? Well, I want you to meet Jill, as in Jack in. It's a little disgusting. She topped him the week after that. She did the Marine Corps Marathon. Christmas, Jack mailed me a shirt. It was okay. Inside there was a little envelope with his transcript from Northern Virginia Community College. 52 hours straight A's. Last Thanksgiving he called me, just checking in. He said, "You guys doing anything special?" I said, "No, not really." I said, "Well, what are you up to?" He said, "I'm back at Walter Reed. I'm visiting my old ward, greeting the newcomers." So here's what I want you to learn from all this and think about. Number one, the path to success is inside, never outside. Get off the escalator and don't be a victim. It's really easy to fall, to put that cloak of victimhood on. You know what? Take it off. Find your highest and best self. You got to, whatever it takes, whether it's visualizations or writing essays or vision boards, whatever, figure out who you are at your highest and best and then cling to that steadfastly. Make a decision. If you want to walk out here and say, "Oh, that was good stuff and he was entertaining," that's one thing. But if you want to walk out here saying, "You know what? I'm going to make a plan together. Then I want you to grab someone, I don't care if it's your spouse or Lance or your office mate, and say, I want to get together with you next week, Tuesday at 10 o'clock, and I want to share with you my plan. Build some time for professional mulling into your schedule. Do the 10s, 50s, 100s, and plug those 10s in because you deserve them. Practice heart-level communication. Make master of your craft a goal instead of units or dollars. Find out what tools you got, pick them up, use them. Invite some accountability. Find somebody else in the office that will encourage you, lift you up, and you can mutually support and get better together. Put your schedule down. It reflects your actual priorities. If you tell me your kids and your mind are your priorities, I'll say, let me see your schedule. In the mornings, consider coming in and working on your business, and the afternoons work in your business. What that means is showing houses, negotiating. Most all that happens in the afternoon, so come in the morning and do your work. Don't wait till it's perfect, because it's never going to be, and you're always going to be correcting. You're going to see 7 numbers that you're going to get from Lance that you need to know. Well, you know what? Be the business people you're supposed to be. Look them up and start tracking them. Make them improve. Keep going. A lot of us are afraid of being successful. Our deepest fear isn't that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It's our light, not our darkness, that most scares us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous, double my income? Actually, who are you not to be? You're a child of God. Your playing small doesn't serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine like kids do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that's within us, whatever your concept of Him. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. As we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. What I'm saying is, go for it. Don't settle for mediocrity. You know what? There are people that have it worse than you guys do. And there are people that have it better than you do. What's really exciting is the possibility that each of us have within ourselves. And if you will get off your escalator and start walking your path with confidence, I will be honored to join you there. And because you've been so good and let me race and still have some extra time, I'm going to give a bonus number 8. Number 8. Enjoy it. Because life really is too short for us to be in this business and not really seize it. So, if I can ever help you, there's some information on the screen. If you ever want to bounce an idea, a plan, I love it when people say, hey, Shoes, I'm going to do a marathon, and they write me and they say they did. I'll be back. I'm not usually in front of you, but I'm working with your leadership that I really respect. These guys are committed to becoming the best company that you can be. And I'm going to encourage you to do the same thing for yourself. It's been an honor and a privilege to be here among you. I congratulate you. I assure you that there are 87,000 Coldwell Banker agents everywhere that look to you guys and say, man, they've been beaten, they've been pounded, but they're still standing. And as long as they are, we can too. So congratulations. Keep going.